everybody. From Salt Lake City, Utah, it's Thank God I'm Atheist, a podcast about religion, atheism, politics, life in America right now, and all that crap. I'm Frank Feldman, and sitting in today for Dan Beecher is my husband, Dave. Dave, welcome.
Thank you.
To the show.
It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. You've been very excited about this.
So excited. I've been so excited for days thinking about when this experience.
When the threat first came that I couldn't find a guest host.
Yeah.
My normal guest host, Rachel, wasn't available.
I've always been the last resort.
You have made yourself the last resort.
Yeah.
Like, you've not been my last choice. You've been the last person willing to help out. Yeah, that's true. Probably. Well,
but this is the first time we've had to resort to the last resort.
Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
It's lovely. So far.
Yeah. Coming up on the show today, on the second half of the show, we're going to be responding to something that I saw on Reddit, a question that was posed that I thought was kind of interesting. And so I thought we would take a stab at it. Sort of advice from older atheists,
so old,
which I guess we are, and to younger atheists. And I don't know, that kind of, I was like, you know what? I have some advice to dispense.
Do you?
I have words that should be lived by.
That's what every old person thinks. So.
How dare you? Dare you call me old? All right. Well, first though, we have some things that happened this week, some news of the week, including a story from Afghanistan. All good stories come from Afghanistan these days. Thanks to the Taliban being back in charge.
Yeah.
And they're
back.
They're back.
I mean, they have been back for a while, right?
Yeah. Taliban 2.0 is controlling Afghanistan. Although you call it Taliban 2.0, it's the same old Taliban. These guys have not changed. Their archaic, primitive view of humanity is still the same. And they have continued on with their reforms of Afghanistan, trying to recreate it in their image. And this is the latest one, which is they have announced that they are going to be slowly phasing out of any image of a living thing in the media.
Oh.
No more will newspapers and news sources be able to print pictures of people or dogs. I presume trees, because they're living. I'm not sure about that one.
Oh, I was going to say it's just going to be like still life pictures.
No, because like Islam has sort of this prohibition against depicting
any living thing.
So if you go into a mosque, they're decorated with geographic shapes. You see a lot of stars and triangles and zigzags and what have yous, right? Or the calligraphy.
Right.
They're really big into their calligraphy because they really can't, or they're not supposed to have images in a mosque, right?
Really?
And so, but I think in sort of modern Islamic countries, we see it, we know it. We have video images and television and photography that comes out of. Well, that's where I'm really confused. Apparently, they do still have television. They said they are phasing this in.
There's just like censor bars over all the living things, like black bars everywhere.
I suppose. No, I am a little bit confused about television. I'm not sure if there's some sort of, maybe they're okay with like live television, right? Because they definitely, the article talks about like how women's voices have been already outlawed from television in one of the southern provinces.
Hearing women?
You cannot hear women.
It's too seductive.
That's supposedly. All women's voices make men think of naughty things.
Uncontrollable horniness.
These Taliban types, it's like they're just stuck in middle school, right? Like they just have this like insta boner, like whenever they hear a woman's voice, it's constant crushes on their teacher, right?
But your teacher's breast gently rubs against your elbow.
No! Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, this is during their announcement, which they did also. There's a photograph of them making this announcement, which seems
really.
Yeah. Here it is. There they are. They're sitting up on a dais.
Wow! Look at all those living things.
Yeah, there's backs of heads of living things. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is what they said. They said the law applies to all Afghanistan, and it will be implemented gradually. He said that officials would work to persuade people that images of living things are against Islamic law. This is a quote. Coercion has no place in the implementation of law. Which I'm just like, excuse me. So what about all these women wearing burqas? Right? Like you've persuaded them.
Yeah, no.
Right?
They've totally come to that conclusion on their own.
Clearly, this is a country that 100% is just like, oh yes, Taliban, persuade us more on your crazy ideas. Your inhumane, horrible laws. Anyway, it's only advice, he continues. And convincing people these things are really contrary to Sharia law and must be avoided. Sharia, you cannot convince somebody of something. Apparently.
Is it like depicting it, like somehow degrading it? Like, why does picturing a living thing throw them into a fit?
I don't. So I think it comes from a similar place as Christianity's prohibition on iconography, which of course was totally thrown away by the Byzantines, and then after that, then it was just all hell broke loose, right? But there was an early prohibition in Christianity against any iconography, right? And so I suspect it comes from a similar place. I'm not sure.
Where they might start worshiping
graven images. Yeah. I think it has to do with the image replacing the actual thing that you're supposed to be. And nothing should be in the place of God, of Allah.
Obviously.
Right. So
except for geometric patterns.
Yeah, they're pretty. They are pretty. They have some crazy geometric patterns. Have you seen them? They're really beautiful. But there's also the article points out, I guess, that that Taliban officials continue to post photos of people on social media. I don't know if these are like most wanted. It's like, what do you do for that? What do you do for an ID card? No, just a description of the person.
Brown
right?
hair,
brown hair,
eyes,
narrowly set eyes, extra large nose, right? Prominent cheekbones, droopy ears,
beard.
Yeah, that's every man in Afghanistan,
or burqa,
or just burqa. It was a burqa.
Just burqa.
So this burqa walked by, and
that's what's on the driver's license.
And I heard her.
It's just burqa.
Burqas are not allowed to drive, Dave.
That's right.
And you're also not allowed to hear a burqa's voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know what crime they'd be committing. These burqas. Anyway, it's a joke, everyone. Anyway, so in the meantime, also they've assured foreign press like the French news agency AFP that reported on this. They advise, but they've told them that they will continue to be able to do their work, and specifically foreign news outlets have been told that they will be able to continue capturing images in the country I guess.
Just not published in Afghanistan.
Yeah, although, yeah, definitely not. But they, in the meantime, because again, this is a gradual thing they're trying to do. In the meantime, they have advised journalists to take photos from further away and film fewer events to, quote, get in the habit.
Huh. So like life is a little blurry. It's fine.
Yeah, that would be a good trick. Just blur the image.
It's
just don't fully focus.
Everything's out of focus
the camera.
on the camera.
Yeah. Anyway, Afghanistan, it's a mess. Their media freedom, freedom of the press has slipped down to 178th out of 180 countries that are ranked by the Reporters Without Borders.
Oh.
Only Syria and Eritrea score worse. North Korea and China score better.
Wow.
North Korea scores better than Afghanistan. At this
Syria, though. Wow.
point. Yeah.
What is Syria doing?
You can't show pictures of cars even.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. No pictures. No living. No object whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know. They're fucking nuts.
Yeah. Clearly. How do they do that? How do they function without pictures?
I don't know, but cell phones are a problem.
Yeah.
What? No selfies?
They
It's a country of no
use
selfies.
the Nokia brick phones.
Yeah, it's all flip phones. Yeah, totally.
All right. I've got a story here. It's kind of a fun story because it's a local story, and I always get a kick out of what the local Mormons are doing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you're familiar with Thanksgiving Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's along I-15.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little, I guess it's a landmark of sorts. I mean,
that you
KSL
can
loves
see
to
it
say that
from
it's a
I-15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like, there's a water tower. Their sign is a water tower.
Fake water tower.
Yeah.
And it
Otherwise,
says Thanksgiving Point on it.
you really wouldn't notice it other than that.
Otherwise, it just looks like a mall, which
yeah,
it is.
It's a mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
Of
some,
sorts.
With some flower gardens.
They do have lovely grounds.
Yeah.
They do. So back behind the mall, the landmark, I'm sorry, the landmark, there is sort of, they do like a tulip show in the spring. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
And they do like a pumpkin patch thing in the fall.
It's very festive.
Yeah.
There's a dinosaur museum.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But anyways, so they have a new exhibit coming up from what I hear.
Oh, okay.
And this exhibit is taking a turn in that it's going to have a Mormon story attached to it.
Oh.
I don't know how familiar you are with the Tree of Life.
Me personally or
Yeah.
our listeners?
Well,
I know. I am aware of it.
Yeah.
I know it's in the Book of Mormon.
So there's a Mormon prophet called Lehi, and he had some vision about this tree of life, which is supposed to represent Jesus Christ's vision or goal in life. I don't know. Would you say that?
Well, I mean, I should have reviewed it before starting the show.
Anyways, it's supposed to be good. Whatever
yeah,
it is.
well, yeah, the Tree of Life is like
Going to Jesus.
Yeah.
And then so and then there's a giant iron rod that everyone's supposed to grab onto, and it leads to the Tree of Life.
yeah,
And in the vision, there were all these people along the rod laughing at people as they move towards grab the rod and move towards the Tree of Life.
right.
And the rod is supposed to represent, I guess, the word of God or something like that,
Right. And the people are in
Right.
this is the great and spacious building,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So out of the blue, the shopping center decides they're going to build a religious garden full of bronze sculptures depicting this Lehi vision from the
Okay.
Book of Mormon.
Okay.
120 larger than life bronze statues,
Jesus. 120?
including Jesus. He's really big.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's important.
It's
And
representing
size depicts importance.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's representing people and cultures from across the world as they travel the path either toward or away from the tree of life.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, not away.
Yeah.
That's the sad part of this story.
Which people are moving away, you think?
Us. They specifically have statues depicting Dan and me walking away from
the Buddhists.
Obviously the Buddhists. Yeah, obviously the Buddhists. Do they have Jews walking away?
Most likely.
Muslims?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably hard to tell because they made 130 statues, but in such a tight deadline that the artists were doing the finishing touches right before they were bronzing them.
Oh, geez.
And if you see some of these images, it really does look like maybe a high school would have made these.
No, we need to go check this out.
It really looks awful.
So they spent a ton of money on a bunch of statues.
Oh, yes. $25 million to tell this story.
So a little bit of background on Thanksgiving Point. It is a shop. You're right. There's a shopping center. Oh, that is a great and spacious building with people laughing and pointing fingers. Oh, no.
Yes, there is a picture of a building with people laughing at people walking by.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, it's all really absurd Mormon stuff. But so the whole thing is owned by one very wealthy family.
Yeah.
And I don't think profit is what they're really going for.
It's not owned by the church, surprisingly.
Yeah, no. Even though it's like Temple Square South,
yeah.
Right? Like, because like they do a lot of the same thing, these planted gardens, and it's supposed to be all kind of like a
Christmas lights.
Sacred. Yeah, they do a big Christmas light thing, which Temple Square doesn't really even do anymore. Corn mazes, which Temple Square never did a corn maze.
They should start doing that.
It would be a major improvement if they would please. We were just there yesterday. My sister and her husband were in town. And you have to do the let's go check out Temple Square. Right. And they're not even Mormon or believers or whatever.
No.
I mean, they were, but whatever.
People still want to see it.
But you still have to go see. Well, right now, what you go see is the big pit around
the
temple
scaffolding.
And the scaffolding. And we knowingly went to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's so stupid. But yeah, a corn maze would improve that experience.
Yeah.
All right. Dave, I almost called you Dan. Uh-oh. Dave, if you've, I don't know, have you been following this whole presidential election nonsense?
I try to stay out of it.
Yeah. I do. I kind of.
I hear there's an election happening
very soon.
Weeks. Yeah.
This show will come out 2 weeks to the day before.
Prior.
Yeah.
Okay.
The election. So you're going to still be hearing stuff said about Kamala Harris. You're going to be hearing things said about Donald Trump, all of which are true. But the things about Kamala Harris, I don't know. I don't know if they're true because it's like the Christian nationalists are saying that she has a Jezebel spirit.
Jezebel?
A Jezebel spirit.
Is that bad or good?
It's bad. So Jezebel, for those of you not in the know, is an Old Testament character.
Oh.
And she's among the vilest of villains,
like she's
in
a
the Old
hippie
Testament.
Or what?
No, she was a queen, a foreign-born queen who wielded great power. She persecuted prophets and she worshipped false gods. And ultimately, she was punished by being thrown out a window and eaten by dogs.
Wow, eaten by dogs?
Yeah,
throwing out of the window wasn't enough.
No, but I mean,
or that was just a consequence of falling
happen.
out of the window. There were some dogs.
There were some dogs around, and yeah, they were just like, there's a lady, let's go eat her. So she was, according to the story, deserving of this violence.
Yes.
Right. She's a character who deserved what came to her. And that's an important thing when Christians start throwing around the word Jezebel, is that it's a violent story, right? She's an awful character who the name gets sort of brought up again later in the Bible, in the New Testament, where Jezebel, I don't believe it's the same character, but there's a Jezebel mentioned. And they probably would have named her Jezebel after this. She appears as a false prophet who's sort of calling for the end times and promotes sexual promiscuity. At least according to this article.
Wow.
But the term has shown up a lot throughout the history of the United States, and in use against women.
There was that website called Jezebel. I don't know if it still exists or not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's right. But the long history of it being used against women, especially black women. During times of slavery, it was used, or the idea of the Jezebel, right, was used to justify sexual assault and rape of black women and girls. And it's been used to target other women as recently as Hillary Clinton. Michelle Obama was called a Jezebel. It's also been applied broadly to just sort of feminist and feminism,
right?
Abortion rights, anybody advocating for abortion rights or LGBTQ plus rights.
So it's basically any woman who has any thoughts.
Yeah, basically. No, you're actually that's how it's used. Like any woman who is speaking up or claiming her own power, claiming her own voice, and then they just broadly come in and call her a Jezebel.
To the dogs.
And someone who is deserving of violence. Yeah. And we have historical evidence of that it has been used to denigrate women with little power and to justify the sexual violence in particular against them. So not a great word.
No.
So now in sort of our modern America, the current usage largely comes from, the charismatic arm of Christianity, that is the New Apostolic Reformation, which has characters like Lance Wallnau, everybody.
Yeah.
That's somebody that we've talked about a lot on the show through the years. He's like one of their big guys. So if you need to place somebody in that and kind of have a sort of a touchstone, he's a great one to kind of look to kind of get a sense of like who these people are and what they're saying and so forth. Wallnau recently posted a video on X in which he said, "With Kamala, you have a Jezebel spirit, a characteristic in the Bible that is a Jezebel spirit, the personification of intimidation, seduction, domination, and manipulation."
Seduction? Kamala?
Yeah. Right.
Who's she seducing?
I mean, I'm assuming, her husband. She can look presidential, and that's the seduction of what I would say is witchcraft.
Oh.
So she's sort of... anyway, I'm not going to try to even parse his words. In a different video, he says that Kamala Harris is an amalgam of the spirit of Jezebel in a way that'll be even more ominous than Hillary Clinton because she'll bring a racial component and she is younger. That is a quote. Like he's acknowledging the race issue.
Yeah, worse than Hillary Clinton because she's black.
Yeah.
That's a great line, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And so this is some brutal stuff. And like I know we only have 2 more weeks where it sort of matters in the immediate like political landscape of this country. But if let's say she is elected, we're going to be hearing nothing but this nonsense. Right. And it's going to continue. It's going to we know what horrible things they said about Obama.
Birther stuff. Ugh.
the birther stuff, I mean, you'll recall
She has
the
same-
monkey sock puppet thing,
Yeah.
right? That was happening. And it's just going to be more and more of just nonsense and lies. And the people like Lance Wallnau, he knows, right? Like, he's a liar. He knows.
Yeah.
But he's doing it to manipulate and so forth and so on. So anyway, that's when you hear somebody say Jezebel spirit, which is also a phrase that does not appear in the Bible at all, right? This is a modern creation by, modern American Christians. When you hear them say that, that's what they're talking about. And I think we need to be a little bit more aware of sort of those words and the impact and what they're really saying with them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they just go, it just goes right over my head, right? Like you just don't hear it. There's just this barrage of just nonsense. And sometimes you have to stop and be like, this is a really bad one.
Yeah. I think it's like, it has this connotation like that anyone called a Jezebel is a prostitute or, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Terrible.
Anyways, talking about sex.
Yeah. What about sex?
Well, apparently the Archdiocese of Los Angeles has decided to settle on some child sexual abuse.
That's not a good segue.
Yeah.
I don't approve of that segue, Dave. That's not, I mean, like sex. I'm like, oh, like I'm hearing a positive thing, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And then you segue and it's like, it's the sexual abuse of minors by priests.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
I just thought I would call you out on that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's fair. They are going to pay $880 million
Whoa.
to the
Let
victims.
that sink in.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
According to this article, the largest single child sex abuse settlement with the Catholic Archdiocese.
With any archdiocese or
With a
diocese? Wow.
Wow.
And this is specifically the Los Angeles diocese?
This is the Los Angeles one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had some problems.
1,400 people in that settlement.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Over how many years does it say? Like,
Oh, yeah. I think it's just over the entire existence, I assume.
going back to the mission.
Yeah.
When the mission first arrived.
I'm sure.
When it was the Los Angeles was
Yeah.
a very, very, very long name instead of just Los Angeles.
I
I don't remember it. And it was in Spanish. And
Yeah.
So it's inscrutable. Like
I should say it actually does say right here, and I highlighted it. The agreement caps a quarter century of litigation.
Only 25 years
Only 25 years.
of litigation. Oh shit. Well,
Though they previously already paid $740 million to victims in other settlements. And so the total payout to victims, $1.5 billion.
from one diocese.
Yeah.
How do they have that much money?
Well, according to this article, it was funded by Archdiocese investments, accumulated reserves, and bank financing.
And a big loan from the Mormon Church.
Maybe. Church financing, other faith financing.
That'd be a lucrative
Interfaith
business.
faith.
They're like, we will cover all of your sex abuse lawsuits.
Is that what they're getting into?
But yeah. It's like some shady mafia, like Mormon mafia stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but then you're ours. All right. Well, I've got another radical Islamist story.
Oh, man.
They're everywhere these days. This one is in Germany, in Hamburg specifically. And it involves a group called Muslim Interactive. Interactive. Spelled lots of fun with K's and V's and whatnot.
Jeez.
Apparently, over 2,000 members of this group gathered in Hamburg last week to call for a caliphate.
Oh.
And the implementation of Sharia law in Germany. It is the group Muslim Interaktiv is considered by German security and intelligence officials to be affiliated with Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is
Are you all right?
yeah. Excuse me.
Was that a stroke?
Achoo! An organization that was banned in Germany in 2003 for promoting the killing of Jews.
Oh, wow.
So this is an affiliate of that group, this Muslim Interaktiv. It was founded in 2020 by whom doesn't matter. Or at least it's not germane to this story, I guess. This is something that Muslim Interaktiv had to say on their Instagram page. I don't know why that makes me want to laugh.
The Muslim Instagram page?
Yeah. This radical pro Sharia group is like posting on Instagram.
Just a bunch of geometric patterns.
It better be. If they have a single picture of anything living, I'm going to be pissed. They've got
Stoners love it.
Yeah. They've got all these guys with beards and head wrappy things. At the beach doing instas or selfies or whatever. Anyway, this is what they had to say. The colonial order that can only be overcome by a rightfully guided caliphate, a caliphate that will once again allow Jews, Christians, and Muslims to peacefully live together. Caliphate, the end of occupation, extermination, and genocide. So this is they're currently obviously being animated by the horror that is happening in the Middle East at the moment. But that's no excuse for thinking that a caliphate in Germany is either possible or reasonable, or that it will once again allow Jews, Christians, and Muslims to peacefully live together.
Oh yeah, it's worked out so well before.
Yeah, I mean caliphates in the past, like, well, I guess the Turkish rule of the Ottoman Empire, I guess technically would have been a caliphate if I understand history right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that replaced a caliphate. I might be getting some details wrong there. But anyway, there was a giant caliphate that covered, the Middle East and Turkey and North Africa, and Christians and Jews were allowed to live in peace, but they were second-class citizens.
Yeah.
Right? So like, cool, dude, like, oh yeah, the caliphate's great for everyone. No, it's not great for everyone. I promise you, the caliphate will not be great for everyone. Hamburg Police Chief Frank Schnabel said that he saw no legal basis for banning the organization. Likewise, a federal justice minister by the name of Marco Buschmann said that their calls for a caliphate were, quote, politically absurd, but not punishable by law.
Fair.
So that's kind of fun. So this Hizb ut-Tahrir, that's the group that I butchered the name earlier, and probably now this time too.
Forever.
Forever and always. Hizb ut-Tahrir. It's an organization that is calling for international Sharia, like global Sharia
Global Sharia law.
Global Sharia law. They want to reinstate the Islamic Caliphate and implement Sharia globally. It is banned in Germany, the UK, all Arab countries except Lebanon, Yemen, and the UAE.
Oh, wow.
So that's fun. Britain considers it a terrorist organization.
Well, I have to say, good luck with that.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem realistic in any way.
We want a caliphate here. I think it's terrifying. And it's also, not for nothing, I do think that it is kind of also revealing and should be concerning to Western authorities, especially immigration authorities, that it's okay to let. I would not be okay with the United States saying we don't allow Muslims in anymore.
No.
Right? That would be wrong. But I do think that they need to really be careful about radicals.
Sure.
And there are a lot of radical Muslims, right?
Yeah.
At this point, people who believe in things like this, and actions by us and Israel aren't exactly making the situation better, right? And although whatever, it gets really complicated. The more I want to talk about this, the more complicated it gets. But we should be careful about who we're letting in.
Oh yeah, I think.
And I don't know that we are. And Germany definitely has at least 2,000 people who want a different government than what's currently there.
It is a tiny proportion.
It's 2,000 people. I would be very concerned if I were German. Dear German listeners, are you concerned? You have to be concerned. You have to be concerned.
Sure.
I mean, the German government's stable. I'm not it's not collapsing because of this, but I would be very concerned.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
that's just me.
All right. This is a fun story.
Yeah. Okay.
It was my pick.
Oh, the one I let you pick.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I find it fascinating.
Okay.
The title of the article is "Everyone's Talking About Utah Hair."
Utah hair?
Utah hair.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how familiar you are with the secret lives of Mormon wives.
We've talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that our listeners, a lot of our listeners know what it is. But let it tell us.
We haven't watched it yet.
No, but according to what you know about the show, what is it?
Oh, well, obviously it's a reality show about Mormon wives. I think it takes on what's the other wives show?
What, the secret or the housewives?
The housewives of whatever city.
The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Yeah. I think it's that kind of show,
Okay.
but they're following some Mormon women around.
Okay.
Anyways, the hairstyle, which is a cascade of waist-length, thick locks curled into beach waves with straight ends.
Oh.
Nearly every cast member wears the hair this way in an identical style. And this hairstyle is making waves with the kids on TikTok.
Like they want to replicate it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The Mormon housewives are setting a trend?
Yes.
No, that's not where I thought this was going. I thought they were going to be ridiculing them. I don't like this story.
No. And for women in Utah, which I've never really thought about it, but yeah, you do see that hairstyle around.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. And
Just-
you
it's
know
just part of our lives.
immediately, though. Like you can pick them. If asked,
Yeah.
you would know that they're Mormons.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this is making waves.
Okay.
All the kids want to have Mormon hair. I guess it's Utah hair, as they call it. They just assume everyone's Mormon.
Everyone, we're not all Mormon.
But they were trying to get some background on why all these women have this identical hairstyle.
Oh,
and
sure.
I thought it was really funny in that they talked to some critics of the LDS Church in the hair.
Okay.
And then in that, one of them said that in Mormonism, one of a woman's greatest value is her beauty, and having long hair is a way to show that you are someone who is valued in your community. The goal is to be beautiful, but to be beautiful in the same way.
Oh.
Which to me triggered, the Roland, what's the leader, the cult leader, the Mormon cult leader.
Oh, the FLDS?
Yes, and how they all dress the same with the same
yeah.
hairstyle.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this also is that part of the culture that all the women have to have the same type of beauty and the same type of hairstyle?
I mean, it definitely is not a good look for modern sort of quote unquote mainstream Mormons,
Right.
to be adopting any sort of uniform hairstyle. good, bad, or ugly, right?
They just subconsciously do it. Like that's what their
have
role
to fall
is,
in line
to align on beauty standards.
I mean, as soon as they're starting to wear like baby blue taffeta dresses, just all of them, like floor to ceiling taffeta dresses that cover everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then they also mentioned that, I'm sure you've touched on this in the past, that the more members of the LDS Church undergo cosmetic enhancement procedures than the national average. It's part of their beauty standards that they need to upkeep as a faithful Mormon woman.
Yeah, no, I think we have talked about that, and it's definitely something that I'm aware of. Yeah. It's boob jobs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of boob jobs in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Botox.
And so forth and so on.
Not criticizing you ladies getting Botox, but
no, absolutely not. Like if you feel better doing it, by all means, go ahead and do it. But as a means of conforming,
conformity. That's what's weird.
That's where it's maybe like, I don't know. But if it makes you feel sexy, go for it.
It's almost like a cult.
Almost. You set me up for that. That was good. All right. Okay. Well, that covers it. That's our stories. If there's anything so far in the show this week that you'd like to respond to, please send us an email, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com, or leave us a voicemail message at 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's a little bit more show coming up. So, Dave.
Frank.
It's now the time on the show when we would normally read some correspondence, maybe listen to a voicemail, and thank any new donors that we have. But I like to leave those things for when Dan's here, so that we can both chime in, and especially so that we can thank new donors together.
You just don't want to read all the hate mail I'm getting.
Currently, as we speak, it's flowing in. Oh my God. As we're pre-recording the show, it's already coming. Yeah, no, I know. It's going to be so bad. You're doing great. Oh. I'm tickled. I was like, you were being kind of funny about whether or not you wanted to do this today. Like, I could tell you're really doing me a favor.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate it. But I didn't know how much it would translate into the recording that this was a favor. Instead, I think you've brought your A material. Uh-huh. It's really good. You're doing a great job. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. So I was talking at the beginning of the show. I mentioned that we wanted to talk about this Reddit post that kind of just had me kind of thinking, like what kind of advice would I give to a younger atheist or a newer atheist who maybe, was sort of coming out as an atheist and kind of looking at stats about the United States and these upward trends for atheist numbers and feeling really good and positive, right? Like, I think we've had a good run these last couple of years as sort of atheists. There's no central, governing body for us, but like, it's just sort of the quote unquote community of atheists. I think we've been doing pretty well in this country, all things considered, especially with the United States' nutso religious history. Right. And we have continued to talk about the crazy nut jobs in this country, but there is something a little scary that's happening with like the sort of this very recent and apparent rise of Christian nationalism in the country, or at least that's sort of the latest development in sort of the far Christian right, that it's taken this really political, nationalist.
Yeah, like we need more religion in government, more religion in schools.
Yeah, and there was always that fringe group that was saying that they wanted prayer back in schools and have been pushing to get the 10 Commandments on the wall in schools and all that. That's sort of just day-to-day American life, right?
Sure.
But then now we're also having a lot of discussion about Project 2025, which is Christian nationalist in tone and scope and its goals and everything. And it's a little scary, right?
Sure, yeah.
And then we have this this race for president that is not the runaway success that we'd hoped for Kamala Harris, right? Like, I think that, if you'd asked me a couple months ago, I would have been like, yeah, it's close, but it's going to be close, but she's clearly going to win, right? And 2 weeks out, I'm not convinced that she's clearly going to win. And I don't think this young poster on Reddit is convinced that she's going to win either.
Anyone could be sure of anything in elections anymore. The polls tell you absolutely nothing.
Oh, it's terrifying, right? And so we're in this situation, and I get that that's probably where this person is coming from, is like being in a place of a little bit of an anxiety. And also who's ever posting this question about like, oh, let me sort of explain what the question is. They're sort of setting the same stage that I did, that like the country seems to be heading toward a more hateful, anti-atheist, anti-intellectual place, right? That's what we're kind of turning into. And then they sort of ask about, what advice would older atheists have for young atheists who maybe live in the deep South or conservative religious rural parts of the country? How should people stand up for themselves and be bold and unapologetic and not be bullied or afraid and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I thought it was...
Is that a thing? Are atheists getting bullied?
I would think that the fact that the wording of the question makes me think this person is probably very young, potentially still in high school, right? Or maybe in college, and being cast maybe a little bit as an outsider for who they are, right? And so, yeah, I think if you were a vocal high school student in much of this country about your atheism, you'd probably run into some bullying.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's real. I don't think that's real. It is real, but I don't know what kind of advice, how, like for me personally, I like when I came out as an atheist, right? Or when I fully accepted my atheism and started telling people that I was an atheist, which I guess is coming out. I was still a student at BYU, at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, the Mormon church-owned university, with all of its strict rules and crap. And I was just a dumb kid, and I was like, I'm an atheist, right? And it didn't go poorly for me. I wasn't wearing a t-shirt or anything.
Yeah.
It was like
fuck God.
Yeah. Nothing like that. But I was open to, my group of friends. And it went just fine, right?
Yeah.
And so I've never personally felt any like that sense of being bullied, which I think comes along has connotations of maybe some sort of risk to your own personal safety, right? And I think in parts of the Deep South, in really religious smaller towns, there may be some risk for being really out and saying who you are. But I don't know, like, do you have any advice for a younger person who might be...
I mean, I guess it's got to be similar for any minority opinion. Like it's like, or identity, like if you're like coming out as gay or bisexual or, there's just always going to be, the majority is always going to be upset about that. I don't know what, like advice, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
what advice do you have for a country that despises you? Like, how do you manage that? I guess you just have to be willing, know that you're going to encounter that.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I don't think that should diminish like your outspokenness about it.
Right. Yeah. If you feel the need to be outspoken,
Yeah.
because a lot of us don't feel the need, right? Like we were talking about before the show, and you sort of were like, well, I don't know that I like identify as atheist. Right.
I don't think at any
I think
point,
a lot of us are atheist without like feeling any need to broadcast it.
Mhm.
That's ironically who I am. Right.
on an atheist podcast.
But outside of literally broadcasting it, I don't broadcast it. Right. So, I mean, I guess I'm a different sort, but,
yeah, I don't know. I think it probably depends on where you're coming from. If you're leaving a religious organization, it's probably very important for you to vocalize that change. And I could see how that could be, scary.
Yeah,
for sure.
But also really important.
Yeah.
Important feeling, right?
Yeah.
Important to you as the person who is, who's making the big change.
Yeah.
Right. That you want to be authentic. You want to say who you are, but that comes with risks in some places. Right. Even if those risks are just social risks.
Yeah.
Right. Like that you're risking friendships and relationships that you value.
Right.
Yeah, it can be scary, but I think the you kind of touched upon something as you were getting started, which is you referred to atheism as a minority opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than an identity.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's probably something true about that. Right. And important to point out. Which is that there are plenty of identities in life that we shouldn't have to mask.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to mask that I'm a gay man.
Yeah.
For example, I don't want to be put in that position. I don't want to have to moderate what I'm saying to people. Although I do, right. In a professional setting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's not important to what we're talking about in a professional setting. I don't need to be like, oh yeah, and my husband.
I'm gay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But if like I'm being friendly with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm not going to hold back. Right. But with atheism, do you need to broadcast it 24/7? Is it the same sort of thing? Is it I think it's something that you can be like, specifically this person is asking about like being bold. I think, what was the phrase? How to stand up for yourself and be bold and unapologetic is the phrasing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know that it's necessary to always be unapologetic or bold.
And I don't know if you want to be bold and unapologetic, I don't know what advice I could have for that other than go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. And also there is value in it.
Yeah.
There is real value. And because like, we talk a lot on the show about the importance of coming out and being visible atheists, right? Because you being open about your atheism, not outspoken, just living your life authentically, can really serve as an example to other people who may feel, who may need a little inspiration.
Yeah.
Right. To make the big step and start living authentically as well.
Yeah.
And you start to see in other countries and other places around the world, and even places in the United States, where it's safe, where people feel really safe to be themselves, and in those places where atheism has started to really take root, I'm looking at you, United Kingdom, which has crazy numbers of non-belief at this point. Like it starts, I think there's a snowball effect, right? Like it just becomes the new norm. We don't believe in God here, right? And the closer that we can get to that threshold, whatever it is, where it's just normal, right? It's one of the ways of being, right? Oh, this person believes in God. Yeah. Well, that's whatever, right? This person doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like, that would be a great place to be.
Yeah.
And that takes people coming out and being bold and unapologetic. So I think you're right. At some point, as long as you're safe, so any teenage listeners whose parents might be religious, don't do it. Not yet, right? Like if you think you're going to have a bad reaction from your parents, ride out the good relationship that you have.
Get all the money you can out of them.
Get them to pay as much college as you can get them to pay for, and then come out as an atheist, right? Like if you know there's going to be real consequences for you, be smart about it, right? But if you're an adult and you're out, your life is settled, you feel good, you're in a career where you know it's really not going to affect anything.
It's the same thing with your career too. Like if you feel like you're going to be retaliated against, I don't know.
Yeah. Is it worth it? You have to do this math for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Some people work in fields where it just doesn't matter. Yeah. Right. And other people, it's going to matter a little bit. Right? Yeah. So it's
especially
always,
if you're a Bible salesman.
Being an atheist hurt your career as a Bible salesman. This is a really great book.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But you might.
This is a great deal.
Yeah, the deal is amazing. And look at this leather binding.
Yes.
This
gold lettering.
Hand milled whatever leather binding.
The parchment. How thin and fine it is.
The finest, the gold leafing on the edge. Did you already mention that?
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. It's
great.
It's beautiful. Notice the red letters when Jesus speaks. Oh, we use 2 different colors of ink in this particular Bible. Yeah, maybe reconsider it if you're a door-to-door Bible salesman.
Yeah.
It could hurt your sales numbers.
Yeah.
But
you're not going to, I mean, if you're just going to go out there and tell everyone you come across that you're an atheist and you're going to get in their face about it, I don't know how far in life you're going to get. Unfortunately.
Wow. Just walking down the street.
Yeah. Fuck you, Mormon.
Hi, I'm an atheist. Hey, Baptist. I'm an atheist. Hey.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any advice. I think it's a quandary.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even know if this person is listening.
They're not.
They could be. You never know, Dan or Dave. Shit. Anyway. Yeah, you never know. This young person. I want to know how close I got to the truth. Are you in high school? I know you're listening.
Write a letter to Dan and Frank.
I'll give you an address.
Yeah.
P.O. Box. No. All right. Well, I don't know. Did we solve any problems there?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, shit.
I don't think that problem is solvable. I don't know how we could possibly give them any good advice.
Well, I guess not knowing their specific situation, but I do think that it is worth, I don't know, like I think what's important right now is to know that, you know, when a lot of us were first coming to terms with our atheism, right? The country was very different. Like the numbers that we see now, the numbers of people out there who no longer go to church. Like I came out in the late 90s, and the church attendance, at least on paper, you know, was still pretty high in this country.
Right.
Right. Belief in God was really high.
Yeah.
Right. Almost universal. Right. Atheists were weirdos.
Yeah.
Right. And I came out and I was fine. Right. And so as long as our civil liberties mostly remain intact, right, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Right. There's like atheists have existed since the dawn of time. Right. There have always been people who doubted the local, you know, God belief. Right. Whatever mysticism was currently happening, there were always people in the community that were like, this is really stupid. Right. There were the contrarians or just the people whose eyes were open about like the world around them.
Yeah.
And so like, I would say to anybody who's nervous about Project 2025 and the country backsliding into some really horrible places, it won't be pretty.
Yeah.
It won't be fun.
And it's not just going to target the atheists.
It's not just the atheists. It's also
everybody.
dear trans listeners and gay listeners and women.
Yeah.
So basically most of the
52% of the
country. Yeah. The majority of the country being targeted by a hateful minority. Just take a deep breath. We're all going to get through it. The country might be a little weird, but we're going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
Like not great. Like a lot of us may not be thriving.
Yeah.
Right. And it might be really awful. And I shouldn't and this is not to diminish the suffering and pain experienced by, in particular, like the LGBTQ plus community, right? Or women who are losing access to reproductive, care and services and whatnot. Like it is not to diminish it, but and it's not to say that there won't be serious problems for a lot of people. But atheists, if that's what we can get back to, you just have to navigate those waters.
Yeah.
Right. And just if it's safe to tell people and be vocal, be vocal.
Yeah. If
not, just be smart.
Yeah.
I think that and just take a deep breath. Not in a dismissive way, but in just a, okay, I'm going to get through this sort of way. And I think that's just what we need to do. And we'll know in 2 weeks how bad it might possibly get.
Well, I mean, it's going to take a few years.
Yeah.
Before you can see how bad.
I would say before we know exactly how bad. Yeah, you're right. But in 2 weeks, we can either start panicking or push pause on panic for a minute and be really diligent about trying to stave off these forces that are really active in this country right now. So it is not something to not be concerned about or to take lightly. Those of you in the deep South, sorry.
We can't help you.
You're on your own. No, just be smart. Just be smart. All right. Well, if you have anything to say, any advice to give in these remaining 2 weeks of the Republic, please give us a call. The telephone number is 424-666-8442, or send us an email, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com is the email address. Big thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music. This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy. If you'd like to donate and help out the show, we sure do appreciate your help. Please go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate. And thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
For sitting in.
Of course.
Dan will be back next week.
Is he going to be back?
Maybe. I don't know. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.